So thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure to have this group. And let's celebrate the autumnal equinox together. We are a bit early, but this is because this is a meditation to prepare ourselves to the fall, to autumn. And it's also true that you can do this meditation, this kind of meditation, whenever you want and need. But it's true that this is a specific meditation for this specific fall, this specific autumn, that have some interesting energies. Most of the energies that related to discernment, really discernment and choices to be made. But let's see, let's go one step at a time. So I prepared a bit of something there. I will show it later. But you can see there is a fairy door dedicated to element air. And we have a spirit of the air. I want to show you this one, because she's one of my paintings. And she is the spirit of air connected with Libra, because we are basically entering. And if you see everything moving, it's just because my assistant cat, Greta, she decided to jump just behind the camera right now. So I hope she wants to stay there now. Okay. So we will speak of this this particular moment of the year. It's a kind of door, it's a kind of gate. And I want to spend a couple of words about autumn or fall, if you prefer, because it's one of the two most transformational and transformative seasons. You know, we have two seasons that are more or less stable. We have summer at our latitudes, of course. At our latitudes, we know that summer is generally hot and winter is generally cold. And spring and autumn are the two seasons in which we can see the magic of the transition. And in the spring, it's amazing to see how life is reborn. But in the fall, well, autumn or fall, in my opinion, is the most magical season. You see the colors changing, you see the atmosphere changing, and everything becomes more mysterious. So just to speak about transformation a bit, for those who already work with me, you know that all the seasons, the cycle of the seasons, the 4 seasons, are correspondent. They correspond to the 4 phases of the moon, and they correspond also to the phases in a month, in a lunar month, related to a woman's fertility, the fertile cycle, the menstrual cycle. And there is also correspondence between the seasons, the moon phases, etc., and the phases in a woman's life. So this is really the most mysterious, because if we can recognize spring as the crescent moon, the summer, the abundance of summer, like the full moon, autumn is the magic of the waning moon that preludes the dark moon. And the interesting point is that usually we think that, okay, the winter is like a dead season. Actually, spring is life. But you know that this life, the life we celebrate in spring, the spring, it starts really with autumn. Because it's the moment in which we put the seed, and then the seeds start working. And it needs this silence, it needs this kind of retreat all autumn and winter long. But before the winter, we have this magic of transformation, or I would say even transmutation. So the most important thing, if a woman is still in her fertile age, this phase, autumn, we can compare this phase with this moment in which after ovulation, if nothing happened, the body start preparing to get rid of that egg, and so our hormones start kind of dance on a roller coaster, and our nervous system start so maybe we need more space. We start feeling some changes, but they last maybe 1 week, maybe 2. In a woman's life, this moment is perimenopause, and this is one of the most transformational, I would say transformative moments in a woman's life. We think of menopause like a point, okay, we stop there. No, it's not a stop. It's a beginning of something totally new. Our culture doesn't encourage this preparation, but it's true that if we start from the fall preparing, if we start getting ready, then when we hit menopause, well, we have an opening, a kind of opening on all the attributes, all the activations of the whole cycle. We become complete, and we can really, it's like activating something beyond all what we already know about ourselves. It's not something a point we get, it's something, it's kind of a big opening. But to get there, to that opening ready, the most important thing is to embody the power of this season of autumn, and this independently from our age, independently from everything. So let's speak a bit of element air. Element air is well, Libra, you know. The equinox, the autumnal equinox, is the moment in which the sun enters in the sign of Libra. That is an air sign, element air. And among the elements, really, air is the most unpredictable. You can manage fire, you know, because fire needs air. Without air, fire is nothing, vanish. And without food, fuel, so without earth, without wood or anything else, no fire. If you put a bit too much water on the fire, you kill it. So basically, fire is something making us feel usually not so much comfortable, but actually air is even more unpredictable than fire. Air, you know, the wind. The wind is really something powerful, and it's definitely not easy to tame, okay? So element air is connected with this season. Think of what happens on the trees when you see those colors changing. It's because nature recollect all the energies toward the inside, inwards. And it's a moment, a sacred moment. It's like telling us that sometimes, instead of being so open to the world, sometimes we have, in order to recharge our batteries, to look inside and to give nurturing, give nourishment to ourselves. Otherwise, if we keep giving, you know, if you keep the leaves on the trees are going to die during the winter. There is too much dispersion of heat. Well, and so what happens? The tree decide to cut. It doesn't give anything more to the leaf. The leaf can fall. And the interesting point is that from those leaves which fall on the ground, then those leaves will become the food for the new life of that tree in the spring. So it's amazing to see how nature creates these cycles perfectly, because there is no death at the end. Yes, the leaf which is dead apparently becomes the lymph, the nourishment for the new leaves and for the new fruits after the flowers, of course. So this is the magic of this season. And imagine today we will work a bit to plant a seed. And to plant this seed, we need also to tame the wind, to ride the wind at least, because it's not easy to tame the wind, but we can learn how to ride the wind. Imagine the wind as a beautiful dragon. We will work on this later. Now I want just to add a couple of things, because you know that I'm passionate about connection between actually neurosciences and physiology and psychology, and the world of symbols and archetypes related also to spiritual traditions. So we are going to connect also because element air is connected with our thinking processes. Element air in the body represents the breathing, the nervous system functions, and we know that, yeah, there is a nervous, a central nervous system, but there is also an autonomic nervous system, which is something we can't really manage with our will, because it's all based on reflexes. Otherwise, we have to think of too many things. But the good news is that there are rulers in our body. We can regulate this system, because the breathing is one of the ways we have to regulate a bit the activity of our nervous system. Why I'm saying that? Because I told you something about premenstrual syndrome and perimenopause. And what happens usually in those two moments, that our nervous system looks like on a roller coaster, because the hormonal fluctuations, they have an impact on it. And so we have those mood swings, or we feel tired, or we feel too much excited and we can sleep, or maybe we are so tired that we can move, and so on. So today, to ride the wind, we will learn a trick that just with our breathing and some mental images, because as I told you, element air is associated to the breathing, to our thinking processes, and to communication. Communication means also thinking processes, because in some way, when we communicate with ourselves, we talk to ourselves. Of course, we talk to ourselves and we talk to other people around, but also when we talk with ourselves, depending on the way we talk to ourselves, we can create some situations inside and outside. It's communication. We need the breathing in order to communicate. We need element air But the communication is much more subtle. On a rational level, we can be sure about our choice of words, but there is also another level, a more subconscious level. And on that level, it's really important we learn to communicate clearly with images. Otherwise, you remember, I like always to remind you that how you can don't think of a green tiger in your kitchen. If I start saying don't think of a green tiger in your kitchen, immediately your brain will start imagining this green tiger. You can't get rid of the tiger if you don't want to think of her. So you have to think of your kitchen free, probably empty. And this is important, especially when we deal with element air. It's really important. You know, in many spiritual traditions, they believe that there are beings living in every element. And so if you speak to the fairies or the spirit of air, you want to give them very clear pictures of what you want. Otherwise, they will bring you something else, like the tiger, you know. So it's really important that today we will do our best to create a picture, an image, or a feeling of what we want to plant as our seed. We are going to plant a seed. So the seed is something that you would like to see growing up. Maybe something becoming a flower, a tree, something else, we don't know. Maybe in 1 month, maybe in 6 months, maybe in the spring, maybe before. But the challenge today is to choose a word or a feeling that you can plant, metaphorically speaking, of course, within, and you want to feed, because remember, autumn is the preparation for the spring. We go through the winter, of course. In the winter, that seed will be really quiet. Apparently, the seed will work a lot. This is why even our culture doesn't support us in taking time for ourselves. This is why we should, looking at the season, take more time to stay in touch with ourselves and start cutting. So now I want to show you something. You see here, I put, it's not just scenography, right? It's because, as I told you, our brain, a part of our brain needs rituals, needs tangible things. So, well, I have this, and this is not because I want to. This is a big sword, and this is the symbol, a tangible, very tangible symbol of element air. In the cards, in the tarot cards, you know, the swords are connected with element air. So it's not because I want to suggest you to use one of these, but I want just you to connect with this and to show you this gesture, because it's something that without any knife or sword, we will recall later. We are speaking about autumn. We are speaking about coming more in touch with ourselves and cutting a bit with the distractions, with all those things which could prevent us to move forward. And especially if and when we want to cut with those old habits, patterns holding us back, just looking at the sword can be an inspiration. Okay? Then, well, then I have you know that I have my tea, right? Because it's my way to keep my voice also warm. And because we are speaking of element air, I have some herbs to burn and to clean the air. It's not necessary, but if you love, you can just burn a bit of incense, anything you want. And because air is connected with the feathers, this is a gift from a crowd. I have a couple of crowds coming with the fox, the frogs, the hummingbirds. I have a zoo. Anyway, sometimes someone leaves a gift for me. So you can play, you can put your candles, your crystals. I suggest to you, before tomorrow, or maybe even tomorrow, or anytime you feel you want to be in touch with air and regeneration, this is something that you can do for yourself. And then, with my cup of tea, I come back. And let's preparing the meditation. So our meditation will have more than different steps. As I already told you, we are going to plant the seed of what we would like to see growing up. And in order to do that, we need also to get rid of something that could take energy from us. Because if in this season we want to keep feeding everything, well, it would be like, okay, I'm the tree, I want to keep my leaves on, and then in the spring I want more leaves. That would be like, what? It's a bit a contradiction, right? But as I already told you, our brain doesn't like to get rid of something if you don't give him something else first. Our brain loves habits and patterns, doesn't like the change at all. So in order to convince your brain to get rid of something, before you have to give it something else to think of or to work on. So first, I told you, and another important point, the breathing, the importance of our breathing. The breathing will be our guide and our regulator in this meditation. Why the breathing? I told you, if we want to keep a balance, the breathing is a regulator. Why we want to keep a balance? Because otherwise we could get distracted, even from our inner roller coaster. Sometimes are symptoms, sometimes are just the mood. You know, a seed needs to stay focused. Otherwise, it would not be underground. Okay, you would expose the seed to anything. But the seed, in order to transform in a new life, needs that quiet, that silence. Okay. So this is really important. We need to focus on what we want, and it's like keeping the reins of the wind. You want to ride the wind, and you need to hold the reins. And the reins, in this case, are the two branches of our nervous system. Because at the end, in our physiology, sympathetic is the activation, and parasympathetic is the resting side of our nervous system. And every change in our physiology, all the hormonal fluctuations and this and that, they have an impact on our nervous system. And this is what usually really gives us troubles. Because it's like a distraction, an inner distraction. And we need to be focused. We need to be able to keep that balance independently from any circumstances. Okay? So the good news is that the breathing is the regulator, and we will play with it. So I'm going to explain to you now the phases of our meditation, and then we will go through this. The phases are, first, the breathing. So stay comfortably. If you like, you can stay like me. I'm trained, of course. I'm sitting without any back. And I feel very comfortable in feeling just a kind of gentle push of my seat bones against the seat. This is enough to keep my spine flexible, but in some way really vertical, okay? And then you can also like relax in an armchair, in a couch, do what you feel comfortable for you. And then from that position, when you are sitting, just bring your attention here on your waistline, okay? I go a little bit more backward like this. So your waistline, you want to breathe in this circumference. So you want to feel clearly that when you breathe in, there is an expansion all around. And then when you breathe out, it's just like coming back closer to your spine, okay? You don't have, please, no efforts. Just take it easy. Don't force your breathing. You don't want to go in hyperventilation. You want just to breathe normal. But you want just to listen to your breathing a bit more, a bit more aware of your breathing. If you're not used to techniques, it doesn't matter. Really just put your hands on your waistline and feel that there is an expansion all around your spine. Imagine your spine really at the center. Your spine is not there. Your spine is more like it's much bigger. The bodies of the vertebrae are much more in the center. So imagine that you are breathing around your spine, and so when you breathe out, it's just like coming back. And do your best when you breathe out, just let go of the tensions you don't need. Especially if you are in armchair or the couch, you don't need to keep any tension. You can just let go the body weight. And feel this catch with the parts touching the surface, supporting you, and just breathe in and out there. And if you need, just yawn, because this is another important regulator. So when we breathe in, there is an activation of the sympathetic activating nervous system, and when we breathe out, there is an activation of the parasympathetic dedicated to rest. And so just bringing our attention to the breathing act is rebalancing our system. If you want, you can count maybe 3, 4 times seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4 for breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. The exhalation can take a bit longer. And play with it, but without forcing, just naturally. Play with it. And just enjoy this game. And when you breathe out, I would say, wait a moment. Don't take the next breath in a rush. Just enjoy gravity. Just you breathe out and just wait the next wave. You know, waves in the sea. We are speaking of the wind, right? But the wind has kind of role. It plays a role in the creation of the waves in the sea, in the ocean, right? And so imagine that when you are a bit like anxious, you feel a bit, imagine the sea in that moment is like, whoa, like this because of the wind. And if you can manage the wind of your breath, your breathing, calming down a bit, Oh, then also the sea will come down. Also your emotions. Okay, this is another story, but you can use that too. So just play with this and imagine that in this space, in the space of your heart, we are speaking of the breathing, we are speaking of our waistline, but now let's imagine that you can breathe through this part of your body. And we don't need to think right now, we don't need to think of the heart like something emotionally involved. No, we stay with our heartbeat. It's very neutral. Okay, it's just a space. Imagine this space, and imagine that this is the space from which you breathe in and out. It's like the door of your breathing. So the breathing will expand your waistline, but it's like you can make this area lighter, brighter, wider, warmer every time you breathe in and out from that area. Just play with this. And if there is something you don't like, just drop it. Stay with what you like, okay? I'm just putting many seeds, but we want to work on one seed, your seed. So we are creating the terrain, we are creating the ground for the seed. Now, did you start thinking of what you would like really to plant as a seed? I'm not speaking of big projects or practical projects. If you have practical projects, that's amazing. You can think of that, but don't put the project there. No. Focus on one emotion or one feeling or sensation that you think will be the sensation, the feeling, the state you will experience now that your project is accomplished. Imagine your project accomplished already. And if you don't have projects, it doesn't matter. It can be just your serenity, your health, your happiness, your satisfaction, anything. Something related to yourself. Only yourself, okay? Don't involve other people. It's autumn. It's like, you know, those goddesses, even if they're tricky, charming, very attractive, and able to do whatever they want. Okay, this is autumn. This is all the colors, the mystery. So it's only about yourself. Don't involve other people in your wish and your putting your seed. It has to be something related to the state you want to achieve. Okay, so think of that. Recall, because you know, element air is also our ability to connect thoughts, make connection, communicate. So just reconnect with some memories. If you have memories evoking that state, or just imagine how you want to feel once your seed will become maybe a garden or a wonderful tree giving fruits. And this is the seed we want to plant, because otherwise we can't get rid of what we want to get rid of, because our brain will be busy in in keeping everything and not letting go anything. And this is the right season, this perfect moment to let go what doesn't serve our purposes anymore. Let go what doesn't serve us anymore. It's just before the magic of that door in which everything will become possible. And this is an anticipation of the other next season, winter. I will speak about even menopause. It doesn't matter if you are far away from that moment. But the point is, the more you work right now on all these phases and elements and seasons, and the more you can achieve then. So we are almost ready to ride the wind, to ride the dragon. But before, just because otherwise these two reins, this will be really, really challenged to manage that, okay? So once we have reinforced, we have to strengthen the feeling of how we want to feel ourselves once the goal will be achieved, accomplished. Once we have really strengthened that point, that core, then we can start gently throwing away the possible obstacles. And we have not to think of the obstacles, otherwise it would be like the tiger sometimes popping up in my kitchen there. Every time I think, I have not to think of the green tiger. The tiger is there. It's the brain. Okay, so no, you don't need to. Maybe you are very aware of the obstacles and old patterns. Maybe you are not. Just think of clearing your path. It will be enough. So now we start. I will tell you which are the steps. First step will be, we want to create a safe space, and we will do this with our breath and our hands, and we will create, after I will explain all the steps and then you will do that, I will guide you. You want to create a kind of sphere all around. You can stand up if you want. I'm sitting, it's just because of the recording and the frame. Otherwise, you can do it also standing. Do it as you like, okay? You can stand up, you can sit. Then, after the creation of this sphere are all around us, like a sacred space in which we allow to enter only what we want. Then we will use our breathing, and through our breathing, we will really plant the seed, and again, we will clear the path. So I probably will guide you through two cleansing of the path, before the seed and after the seed, in a bit two bit different ways. And then we will ride the wind. That can be a dragon, can be whatever. It comes to your imagination in that moment. Trust your imagination, because our subconscious speaks to us through images. And sometimes it's not just that. Sometimes, if you believe, there are connection, connection with the other energies around us. But it doesn't matter if you believe or not. The most important thing is that this is a language that our brain understands. Okay? So I invite you again to think of that feeling, that state, that emotion you want to use as a seed, that feeling, that state, that emotion you want to nourish, you want to nurture. This is what you want to strengthen. This will be your inner compass, because once you put your attention, intention on this, then everything else will follow. It's like setting your inner compass, or GPS if you prefer, on the destination. Without putting too many things, it's just the inner state. And that inner state will help you go through any kind of transition in your life, because it doesn't matter what happens around, and even what happens inside. Once you have this solid anchor, this seed, this clear space to come back to within your heart, then it will be much easier to achieve transformation, to ride the transformation. Because this is, well, astrologically speaking, this fall will bring a lot of changes, and it will be very good for discernment. Discernment means really distinguishing what we need and what we don't. Okay, so ready? If you need, drink a bit of water, drink a bit of tea, what you like, what you want. And then you tomorrow, if you want to repeat, you will light your candle, your incense, everything you like. If you see the camera moving, is only because Greta, my assistant cat, decided she needs to lick her paws right now. Greta, it's not the right moment. This is otherwise it's an earthquake. It's not really like the wind. Anyway, cats, you know, you can't. Riding the wind is a bit like trying to train a cat. You can't really, but you can do something in order to listen and to have fun. Oh, thank you for giving me this attention, Rita. It's like now she will participate in the meditation, almost for sure. Exactly. Okay, so here we are with Greta. Thank you for stopping licking your paws and giving me this attention. So sit comfortably, and possibly for now you can keep your eyes open, follow the sound of my voice, and just focus on your breathing. Imagine really that you can breathe, expanding, breathing in, you can expand your waistline. And when you breathe out, you can just feel that it comes back closer to your spine. And just follow your breath, just take it easy, follow it calmly. Imagine really like a breeze. And with this breeze, you can start gently opening it a little bit, also with your hands. Imagine that you can breathe out from your hands, and you can open a space. You can open, and this is gentle opening. It's like inviting the wind to clear your path, like the wind is blowing away all the leaves which are already on the ground, clearing your path for you. And then you can start feeling that when you breathe in, this is the door for your breath. So your breathing, it enters through this space behind your sternum. And this space around your sternum, behind your sternum, it becomes lighter. It becomes wider, warmer, every time you breathe in and out. And so you can start thinking and feeling that you can breathe in all the good things surrounding you. Everything you like, you love, a color, a taste, a perfume, a sound. You can breathe in, and through the door of your heart, really, it comes to your waistline. And your waistline, it's expanding with your inhalation, and it comes back with your exhalation, and everything is calm. And then when you breathe out, you can feel that every time you breathe out, you are giving back this, but not too much away from you. You keep it in your surroundings. It's like you can breathe in this joy, this pleasure. And then when you breathe out, it's like surrounding yourself with this joy, with these pleasures. Now it's time to create our sphere. And so with your breath, when you breathe out, imagine you are breathing out a color It doesn't matter what color you like it, you do it. It can be light, can be a texture, can be just air. But imagine you are really creating a space, a sphere all around you. And this sphere is your protection. And so now, when you breathe in, you are calling also from outside the sphere, and you are collecting this beauty, everything beautiful. And when you breathe out, you expand this, and this will fill your sphere. You increase, okay? You increase this field that is protection, and it is also not just protection, but it's something you like to feed. And you feed it with the pleasure of the little things surrounding you, and of which you become aware and more aware. And now that we created the ground, now we are ready to plant our seed. We need to plant our seed right now. And so it can be a feeling, an emotion, a state, but it must be something that you want to nourish, you want to feel increasing in the next days, weeks, months, maybe all your life. You could feel that, oh, this is really something I want to keep feeding because it makes me feel good. And so imagine really this part of your body, it's like a treasure chest, really, full of treasures. You put there all the beautiful feelings and all the pleasures, but then in this treasure chest, you put also your seed, because then your seed will be nourished by all the treasures you already put in, and you will keep putting the treasures there. Every time you meet something that you like, you will take a breath, you will incorporate it, you can embody that pleasure and put it here. It will help your seed give fruits, okay? And so feel that finally you are feeding yourself through this seed. And once the seed and the idea of the feeling and the state you want to explore and expand and make more intense now is clear, then finally, this is the moment to clear your path more seriously and to prepare yourself to ride the wind. So now you can open your eyes if you close them, and you can start using your hands and forearm, this part of your forearm, like you are really, and you can make the sound, because sometimes the wind, sorry Greta, sometimes the wind must act a bit more, like with a bit more energy. This is discernment. We can't integrate deeply the new without getting rid of the old. But again, we can't get rid of the old if we don't put the seed before, because otherwise our brain will stay really attached to what already. Okay, so now we made it more clear that you create more space, and now you are ready. And so now imagine really that there is this beautiful wind that I see it like a dragon, but it can be an eagle, can be something else. Usually with wings, but whatever for you, as it appears to you. And what I feel clearly is that I want to hold the reins And with those rains, I feel in touch. And I feel that at the end, the rains are my breathing itself. So when I breathe in, I can feel that it's like going up, up, up in the sky. And then when I breathe out, I can come down and I can play and I can really have a lot of fun following just my breath, just the way of my breathing. Slowly and gently and playing with that and keeping clear in your heart this sensation, the feeling of the state that guides you to keep the balance. Because the secret to go through any kind of transition and the secret to ride the wind is to keep our own balance, to manage our inner wind, our nervous system. So try that. Play with your breathing, play with these gestures. And now imagine you can seal your bubble, your sphere again with this gentle breeze. And remember that the center of this sphere, it's you. And the center, well, we have many centers, but the centers connected with the element air is really here, our heart, this space of our heart. And so, just yawn a bit if you want to yawn. If you feel tired, it's absolutely natural, because this word, it looks like very, very easy and light. It is easy and it's really deep, because it's based on really how our brain and body, how it works, our physiology works, and not just our physiology, but also that aspect of ourself that needs really to be fed by symbols, archetypes, because it's in touch with something deeper that our rationality can't really catch. Okay, so I hope that it was interesting for you. I want just to remind you again that it's really important in those seasons of transition, especially in the fall, especially in the autumn, because the light is dimming, there are many things going on. Nature asks us to really focus on ourselves in order to find those deepest resources that can transform completely our life for the better. Creativity, inspirations. And well, now I will give you a bit of time. I will stop the recording and we can talk. You can ask your question. The good thing when we have this good meeting with this Zoom meetings is that if you have questions, or we can speak after. But what I want to tell to everybody, especially to those who just will see the recording of this meeting, feel free to write to me or to book a free call, because I'm always happy to know more about you and to know also, to discover if I can help you, support you during your journey. So have a wonderful equinox tomorrow or whenever, and use this meditation whenever you want. This is the perfect season, but you can reconnect with this power, with the power of wind, the wind of change, anytime you need. So now I'm going to stop the video and we can talk. Thank you so much.